I used a nut riveter and put some M5 rivet nuts into the supporting structure of the roof. They are just aluminium with a threaded inner. Not in focus here, but you can see just through them. I decided to put a closed cell foam ceiling up. I had thought of a hard skin, but it was going to be too tricky, so I bought these basically camping mats and put some self-adhesive spray onto the ceiling, and then essentially just stuck up the closed cell foam. It was a bit tricky, and some of the connections at the joints aren't as good as I would like, but overall the effect was quite good, and worked reasonably well. It was fairly cheap as well. You can see there the finish. There's a couple of screws just put into where the screw nuts are, just so that they would be located. There you can see the connection between the front cab and the main van itself, and the roller blind. The other side I fitted a fire extinguisher for there. At the back here I just put a couple of bits of velcro up, or 4 pieces actually, and that's just an insect net, so when the back door's open I can have an insect net across the back to try and keep out insects. There's another detail of the ceiling. I've put up some bungees onto the hoops I've put onto the ceiling there, and the steel centrepiece. The bungees are essentially so as I can put things up there and just slide them down, lamps and whatever. Here I'm showing how I've put the back window cover over. It's just a lightweight cover. It hangs on 2 hoops, and when the door's closed, as you can see, it gives you privacy. I have put an eye hole on it so you can look out and see outside without having to lift away the cover. It just comes off the hoops, then turning over, place it onto a little shelf at the back, push it up, and then it's just a bathroom closer type of snib lock that I put up there. Just trying to line it up there, and it didn't quite go as well as I thought when I was doing it, but that's it on. Just click and turn, and that's the thing located and stays out of the way, which is pretty useful. Here you can see from the outside with the door open what it looks like. It's just a silvered finish again, closed cell foam with the viewing glass at the top. It comes off really easily. You can put it up and down as you want, and it gives extra privacy as well, even when the door's open. It's finished in a material similar to the inside of the van on one side, and it just hangs on chain with a couple of PVC tubes just to stop the chain from rattling against the van. And a view from the outside, it's a metalled finish foil, so it keeps the heat out, and is pretty good for driving. It just up out the way, no problem, and saves having a blind or any other thing on the back. And I find it has worked fairly well. Again, you can see it in the up position there. These are just small bungees that I had put onto these nuts. Lights and lamps I can hang up and slide around really, so that I can put them in any position. I could just hang them onto the hooks themselves, but I felt that by putting cords in, then it would be easier just to move the lamp, hanging lamps around, and that's worked out reasonably well as I tested them when I was away recently cycling in Kintyre. Just showing that they're just bungee cords with hooks on the end stretched across. You can also put clothes and hang whatever you like onto them when you're stationary. It's pretty good. The reason I put the metal strip across the ceiling is that I wanted a bit more solidity, and if I had a candle holder hanging, then the heat from that wouldn't affect the overall ceiling. It would just be protected by the steel strip. It's just a general view of a fan that I've put up inside. It's just a very quiet fan, and it plugs into a couple of sockets I have made, and a battery and little circuit connections in the corner. It's a very, very silent fan, and it just moves a little bit air around, particularly useful when I'm sleeping, because I put a 12-volt timer in so that it comes on. It's got absolutely no sound to it, and I can move it and angle it round. It's just on a Lazy Susan bearing. The whole thing comes apart for travel. Inside the cupboard you can see there's the propane gas that I have for the catalytic heater, which is at the top there. It's just kept on by bungees, and I use that if it's really cold. I try not to use it because it's just an emergency, but it's a catalytic heater, and it doesn't give off any CO2. Propane gas through a small regulator. There you can see the wiring circuits and the essentially the timer. Two different plugins. I put one of the plugins is on the timer, the other's on constantly, so that you can plug into it, and they fit in the bulkheads. There's a hinged bar that you can lift it up to change the timer settings, and there's a 4-way fuse board in there that I've used just to take the power from the battery. On the other side, the small kitchen area, the sink and the stove, held down with bungees. When I was away, I took the stove and cooked outside. Don't have to cook in that position, that's just for travel. You can cook there. Stainless steel back. Another thing I fitted was a temperature controller or a temperature monitor. It gives me inside and outside temperature, so I can see the temperature and humidity. There's the outside temperature. The cable on the side goes down to a small sensor that I've located right at the bottom of the battery box in the front of the cab, which is as close to outside as it can be, and just wired it down, concealed.